Well, son, I don't usually take care of you and your three sisters, but this morning I'm feeling generous. So here's a box of Whataberry cereal. Son, with every heaping spoonful, you'll get the taste of heaping dog shit. And as you eat every bowl, you'll learn to lose your morals and talk bad about people and tell a bunch of lies. But if that's not good enough, within every box is a knife where you can best backstab your best friend. Yes, Whataberry cereal. Enjoy it, son. This'll be the last thing you ever get from me. Ha 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 ha. What a day.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's number one pro wrestling broadcast. Monte The Pharaoh, only seen here out of Tin Mirror Studios in Kings Park, New York, and on the other side of the planet, the States, from Florida, out of Wahoo's Saloon, the great Jimmy Pharaoh. Jimmy, how are you?
Lovely. How are you, sir?
So, Jimmy, we're doing this big push, and last week we had the great Greg Gagne on. What'd you think of Greg?
He was great. I was actually very surprised. For some reason, I thought Greg might be very reserved and maybe surly, and he wasn't. He was great. He was very cool to hang out with, and he didn't know how to get the hell off his laptop afterwards. Nobody knows this, but after the show ended, there's Greg. He can't figure out how to get off the live feed. I'm like, close your laptop. He's like, okay, see you tomorrow if this doesn't work.
Unplug it, throw it out your window.
It was hilarious.
And then this is another show where I've got to tell the advertisers I'm not taking a commercial break here, right? Because we've got the great Rockin Robin. But before we get into that, man, I just had to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
We usually open up with news, and then we'll ask Rockin Robin what she thinks of the news, blah, blah, blah. But I want to go this route with you, and then I'm going to go to Robin after it is. I was thinking I was at work. And by the way, I just got to mention something, right? So you know my real job in life, right? And a commercial comes on for a transportation company. And I can't stand that transportation company. I'm watching. I'm like, oh, how do I get this off my feed, right? Because they've jacked up so many of my loads. Forget about it. It's crazy. But
they're trash. They're trash.
And the usual way I would mention their name because I could care less. But at this point, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
okay.
I was listening because I don't watch YouTube at work while I was running some reports, and they an old Family Feud came on with what was that guy, Dawson? Help me.
Yeah, Richard Dawson.
Richard Dawson, yeah. And it was
Sure.
The Brady Bunch against somebody else. And then I saw Marcia. What's her real name? Help me out.
Marcia's real name?
Yeah. It doesn't maureen anyway.
Maureen
McCormick.
Maureen
right.
McCormick.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, go
and
ahead.
Florence Henderson, by the way, was looking great in that thing too. So I was thinking,
right.
Jimmy, who was your celebrity crush growing up? Not teenage, preteen.
It's probably Marcia.
Wow, really?
It's probably Marcia. Well, think about it. I'm 7 years old in 1974, and the Brady Bunch is all over the tube. It was the first, and she was. I was like, nothing works yet. It's not like anything's working down there, but I mean, something's working. I guess it's the eyes. I was like, oh wow, Marcia.
It's not working down there, but the eyes are working.
Well,
Okay,
it's not.
there
It's
you go.
not ready. It's not ready for full function. You're just 7. Listen, if it's ready when you're 7, holy rocket to heaven. What are you talking about?
Well, I'll tell you, I was a Susan Day Partridge
Oy.
Family guy. Susan Day was smoking.
Okay.
All right, so now I understand. Now you're a teenager and you're watching professional wrestling. And we don't discriminate on Monte The Pharaoh. So whatever you say, you won't be judged, okay? I want to open up with that. So who was your pro wrestling crush?
Wow, I have to think about that. I actually have to think about that. I don't know if I had one. I might not have even had one.
Really? Not Greg Valentine?
Oddly, not what?
Not Greg Valentine?
Greg's a chick?
It doesn't have to be a chick. I said we don't judge here.
So basically man, woman, or animal? Is that what you're getting
Doesn't
at?
matter.
What are
We
you
don't
getting
judge.
at?
You could crush on anybody you'd like. I've man crushed
Well,
many a time.
the ring posts were awfully sexy. I
Oh,
mean, what are
boy.
you getting at? What are you
All
getting
right, I'll
at?
tell you what I'm
No.
getting at. This is what I'm getting at. The guest on the other side, we're going to introduce now, without her thinking I'm some kind of pervert. I was crushing on her like crazy. The great Rockin Robin. Rockin Robin, thank you for joining Monte The Pharaoh. How are you?
I'm good.
Wow.
Thanks for having me. And
You're
that's a nice surprise.
Oh,
Just to start off
listen, I before we even get this thing going, I got to tell you, I crushed on you like crazy, and now that I see you, like I've seen you obviously on other interviews and on these documentaries and everything else, and obviously you're a beautiful woman, but I mean, looking at you straight up in studio, I'm still crushing on you. So, but don't worry, I'm in New York. I can't get through the computer, but I got to tell you. Let me ask you something. As a woman, is it insulting when a man mentions your beauty? Like, is that unprofessional? I always wonder if that's out of line.
No, I mean, me personally, I don't take offense to it. No. I mean, I guess you'd have to be flattered. Most of the time, you're flattered. It's, I don't know.
I mean, the reason I ask that, Rob, is this, right?
Yeah.
When you have these interviewers, right? When they're interviewing a man, they don't go, okay, well, we're going to speak to the handsome Jimmy something, right? But when they're speaking to the women, the beautiful or the very attractive, right? It's like, why, is that a bad lead-in? Like, this could be,
No.
okay, very good.
No. And I mean, because it could be worse. It could be, it could be the other way, Yeah, she's here, she's alive.
Wow.
wow.
Wow,
Wow.
Robin, you look like you
looks
just
she
woke.
Looks like she just came out of the grave. But yeah, she's here with us.
Wow, here she is, straight from the grave.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So beautiful, whatever you want to say. I'll take that.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you, what was your celebrity crush?
Oh God. Over any entertainment,
Any form of entertainment
genre.
didn't matter. Yeah, it even could be a C-level celebrity. We'll even go that low.
Oh God, I don't know if I've ever been asked that.
Tough questions here on Monte The Pharaoh.
Yeah, I might have to starting out with a hard one there. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm totally blank. I don't know. I don't know who. I know I had plenty. I know I had plenty that I loved, looked up to. God, not one comes to mind right now. That's crazy.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay.
But
if I in a little while just shout out.
How about like let me throw out a name for you. Let's make it easier for you. Let's rank them.
Okay.
How about Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch?
What?
No, probably not. Greg, yes.
Greg,
There we
look
go.
at that, a little Greg. How about Peter? Peter or Greg?
Pete. Well, Greg first, and then when they grew up,
First.
and then I saw Peter. What is it?
Chris Knight. Yeah.
Chris Knight. Yeah, and then saw him after so many years, and I was like, ooh. I mean that Peter grew up nice.
Ooh, Peter's grown.
Nicely.
Let me put you in this scenario. You're in high school with the Brady kids, and Peter's there and Greg's there, but Peter's going through that voice change that he did in that one episode.
Yeah.
Does Robin date Peter with the voice change?
I don't know. I don't see why not.
Well, what if he said it? What if he said it to you like this? Please go out with me.
Oh my God!
I guess I would have to ask. Depends on where we're going. As long as we go somewhere you don't speak, we'll be okay.
Oh my God. Oh boy.
All
Well,
right.
Mike, you've gone totally to left field. What's in center?
You're in center, Jimmy. You're on, buddy.
Okay, fine. All right. How about this one? You've obviously had a storied career. What makes someone decide to be a pro wrestler? Look, I know it was in your family, but was it something you wanted to do or something you felt obligated to do?
No, I mean, that's great. Thanks for asking that. Is it that was it? It was basically, it was in the family. It was a I guess an avenue I could take. That opportunity that I really had right there. But no, I mean, growing up, um, in fact, I think everyone was shocked. All of my friends, everyone in our family was absolutely shocked when I said I thought I wanted to go ahead and and start training, and work out, and wanted to get into it. And because it was the last thing anybody thought, including me, anybody thought I would do. And but I think my mind changed when I started. I'd turn on Saturday morning, turn on the TV, and I remember seeing that the cartoons for the first time, the rock and roll wrestling, the cartoons, and my jaw dropped when I saw Jake on there. And I was like, God, dude, he's a cartoon now. Man, I mean, so I was like, wow, I mean, it's coming out of the shadows. It seemed like it was kind of coming out of the shadows from the old days. Um, you know, growing up with it and growing up, in our family. And of course, I mean, everybody knew what our father did. Um, at that time, it wasn't really cool. You always just got challenged. They wanted to walk up to you and, oh, your daddy's fake, everything's fake. What y'all do, what he does is fake. And I'm like, well, the swimming pool in the backyard's not fake.
Yeah, yeah.
Ours in the garage is not fake. I mean, it wasn't a bad. We weren't just kind of slung around and on the road all the time. Um, it provided pretty well.
And
So,
Robin, was
sorry, Jimmy, to be honest with you, I always think about this too. I understand the traveling was pretty rough, but to get inside the ring and wrestle and orchestrate something, and I know it could be rough, but for 10 minutes a night, it's not a bad little gig to have that kind of money for that kind of action. Am I wrong for saying that?
I mean, if you look at it now, it blows my mind, and it's like well deserved. I mean, the money that they're raking in now is, I'm sure, unbelievable with the merchandise and, I mean, you name it. And I'm assuming they're on the road like we were, pretty consistently, doing house shows. But our money, I have to say, wasn't so good. It wasn't as good. I mean, and I remember being on the road, say 20, 24, 25 days out of the month. And for the girls, it might have been, probably average was a few $100 a night.
Mm.
Everything, all the travel, everything was taken care of. But when you're 20 years old too, or, in your 20s, it's easy to spend a couple of $100 a night on the road too. So there wasn't a whole lot of saving going on either.
Well, I love your honesty, right? Because we've had so many great stars on, and you hear these stories. Oh, I was making $6,000 a night. I was doing this. You obviously were the biggest organization and their world champion in the women's division. I was trying to figure out what I thought you made. Would you be able to share like what you made in a year as the women's champion?
Oh God, another good question. God, I haven't the slightest idea. I don't know that it even cracked like 70 grand a year.
Wow.
I don't even think it got to that point. And which, the funny thing though is like nobody complained. We didn't complain. I think for women, we were just happy that, we had we were working, one, because back then we were still considered like the popcorn match. We were still not just novelty. There was no women's division, anything like that. And so, as a novelty, I guess you're just glad to, be a part of it and give them something a little different, and on to the next, town, on to the next city.
I mean, we'll get into that later on, but yeah, again, think about what you've done. Not just you, but we'll get into it. But what you've done for what these women are making now, and they're well deserved. They're great athletes. I get it, but you guys are the GOATs, right? You guys are the ones that built this, and to think about it, like you said, popcorn match. Almost like the little people. I want to try to be you guys were the circus part of it, right?
Can you say midgets anymore? I don't even
on
know.
this show, absolutely yes. But then again, they've
yeah.
suspended us 1,000 times. Who knows what they'll do next? But yes, you were with the little people, and but what you made into, you guys are the ones that built it. But we've had Nicoletta Baby Doll on the show, and she tells a story how both you and her tried out for the WWE. She didn't realize it was a tryout. And that's how they accepted you. Could you share that story?
Well, I mean, I have to be honest with you. I don't remember that.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I love Nicola, and we talk every now and then, or at least message every now and then. And I mean, she's fabulous. But I really don't recall. I mean, if she didn't know it was a audition, a tryout, then I didn't know it was a tryout either. I don't remember that occasion. So I just have to kind of defer back to the way I kind of went in was, I mean, I was trained by Nelson Royal in North Carolina for months and months and months and months. And then when I was ready, matter of fact, it was my father had said, well, you've got to just for politics, you need to go talk to Moolah and this, that, whatever. And I didn't want to do it. And because we knew Moolah, and I knew Moolah since I was a baby. And so now here I am grown up and, at her door. And so, she, that day she said, okay, well, let's kind of see what you got, and put me in the ring with someone. And it was a total nightmare. It was a cluster, what. And the reason it was because, well, a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people don't know, but Moolah, the reason she was so successful was because she trained her women to work from the right side. So like, if they went to grab a headlock, anything, it was all from the right side. And men work from the left side. And so whenever I intentionally went to North Carolina and wanted to be trained by Nelson, because I wanted to be trained like the guys. I didn't want to do monkey flips and, pull hair, just some of the things you saw over and over again. I really wanted to, get in there, and I wanted them to enjoy it and get into it as much as the men's matches. So anyhow, so, we're in the ring for probably 20 minutes, and it was so sad. I mean, it was just really bad. So Moolah tells me, or back to the left and right thing. That's why we just kept missing each other in the ring. And so she at that time said, well, you need to come here, to her farm, need to go there. And I needed to spend about 3 months or so working out with her girls. And I knew what all that meant. All that meant was I was going to be under Moolah. I was going to be one of Moolah's girls. And I, again, intentionally, I knew whenever I started that was not the route I wanted to go. And so I remember leaving her place, and I called my father, and I told him, I said, if I have to go through her, I'm done right now. I'm not going any further. And that was the last time. That was the last time I saw Moolah until I actually wrestled her a couple of years later. And yeah, so there was a little animosity and all there, but it worked itself out eventually.
How did you feel? How do you feel about the stories about Moolah? Were they true? I mean, we'll talk about this later on too. Dark Side of the Ring. Again, we're just fans. We're not in the know. But was the reason you stayed away from Moolah is because you heard those bad things about her?
Well, I mean, not that I even heard so much, because until I decided to train, I was really not around it as much anymore. My mother and father split, and I was just away from that life for quite a while. So I wasn't really that I heard anything. I just didn't want to. Again, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to train and work that style. It just was too. I don't know. Again, I in my mind, we could get in there and we could do more than just get whistles and and be a popcorn match. And if you do it right, you can get people involved. And but that whole left and right thing was just so awkward to me. And I think that's why a lot of times it even looked awkward in the ring, for some women's matches, because it was just. But that's how Moolah kept control, and having her girls work with her girls, because they all worked from the opposite side. And but plus, the little money we were getting, I didn't want. I knew about that. I knew that she was completely in charge of everyone's money, and I thought, well, I don't need that.
Yeah. Wow.
I thank you. I'll be in charge of my own.
Trendsetter, Robin. I want to bring it back a little bit though. So Nicoletta, baby doll, ends up marrying Sam Houston. They have wonderful kids together, but the relationship goes bad for many different reasons. Explain to me the dynamics there, right? How does someone like yourself, you have a relationship with your brother, you have a relationship with now Nicoletta, how do you keep that balance considering the true story behind it? How do you manage that part of your life?
We don't talk much. I mean, I don't, I think this kind of rings true probably with most wrestlers, or, most people, or even maybe most people in entertainment, entertainment business, is that and also the fact that we're in different states. I mean, we have things like this now, and that, a lot more ways to communicate now than we could before. But we just didn't spend a whole lot of time around each other. Like they were on the road, and then when they split, then Sam's on the road, Nicola's on the road, I'm on the road. So there wasn't, if you saw each other, it was in passing, maybe at some event, and that was about it. But we didn't do things like Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we did not have that kind of family unit going on.
That Brady Bunch family unit, totally.
Yeah, right. I think that's why I loved. Yeah, I think that's why I love the Brady Bunch so much too.
I think that's why most of us did, right? Because I think most people don't have that family unit, and now even in society, now how society's turning, I think it's even getting worse. So
yeah,
I totally get it.
I agree. We got to bring it back.
Just a few months away. That's a few months
away.
We're almost there.
Absolutely.
Robin,
I am super duper MAGA, just to tell you. So
we are here on this show also, and we were talking last week the travesty that this government has. We might get shut down on this one, Jimmy, too, right? We've got burnt a few times to this, but what they pulled off was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. But go ahead, Jimmy.
Well,
same here.
That's all right.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, people aren't realizing even just the basics. You know, the people that support that certain side that we're speaking against don't seem to realize that food is way more expensive. Gas is way more expensive. The world is not safer right now. You have the Korean fellow, right back to feeling comfortable about shooting missiles over the Sea of Japan. You have, the Russian situation. Hey, we got no problem. We'll just walk in and take this country. It's Afghanistan, part 17, because there is no resolution. The world is a more dangerous place, and this country is a more expensive place. So can't we just get back to the basics? There's got to be someone out there that everybody on both sides, if there is such a thing, he'll probably get shot, but, someone who can do the basics for all of us, because I don't see it coming right now. And I had a much easier time of living, as hard as living is in general, even when times are better, in the previous regime. My apologies to those who don't agree with facts, but things are more expensive and the world is more dangerous.
Exactly. I mean, if you just, I think what blows my mind is that is the mindset. I mean, we all know that every time they say something, that's exactly what they're doing. Right. That's just how, they say it. It's like, that's, you just stated your playbook, basically.
Right. Right.
Well, that's what they're doing. But I can't understand, say, let's put our guy aside, love him to death. Let's put him aside and just ask the question that, like, so you really think defunding the police is a good idea? You really think sexualizing our children is a good idea? You really think all of these wars are a good idea? You really think trying to jail your political opponent is a good idea? All of it. It just, and I've never been able to get an answer to that. They always defer and always, but that lying, cheating, whatever. And I mean, what's so clear to me, and I think you guys too, what's so clear to us, I don't see how they don't see it. You know what I mean?
I think one of their greatest charges that I would bring against them is that freedom of speech is no longer freedom of speech if you don't agree with them, which takes away our freedom of speech.
Exactly.
So you're basically peeing on the Declaration of Independence, pretty much. You're basically just unloading a six-pack on it.
And how do they not understand that?
I don't know.
I have, I tell my friends, I'm like, as a joke, but not really, is that don't ever give a liberal a puzzle. They'll never be able to put it together. They cannot connect the dots. I don't know what it is.
Well, I'll tell a quick story. I was at the diner with my wife over the weekend, and obviously everybody knows this is what Sexual Awareness Month or whatever they're calling it, right? We're giving an entire month to be able so people can identify their gender, which is fine. Whatever, if that's what you want to do. But across from me, guys, was a Korean War Vietnam guy, right? Older man, whatever, could barely walk. And I went over to thank his service and, paid for his dinner. And I thought to myself, wow, we're all up in arms because we've got people on other sides that don't believe, that a man can be a woman or a woman can be a man, and whatever we believe in doesn't matter, again. But we don't even have the time to respect people who have given us that right to become a dog. these people have given a right for me to announce that I am now a black golden retriever and I want to be addressed as such, right?
Yeah, right.
This is the state of the country right now, where we have quickly become soft, and
It's insanity. It's just totally insane.
But it's consistent, because the good book says that the dirtiest part of your body is your mouth.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So there you go. There it is, right there.
And by the way, guys, I want you to know that I am a now black golden retriiever, and I want to be addressed as such moving forward in this interview. So go ahead.
Woof. Yeah.
Woof.
More importantly, I don't want to have an on-air incident. Mike, do you need to be walked right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Abe, as soon as the commercial hits, take Fido for a walk. Robin, I gotta ask you.
Have you had your shots? Yeah.
Oh yeah, make sure he's.
How dare you, Robin, ask me if I had my shots? How dare you?
No. You look well groomed and like a
well, good. Oh
like
boy,
a sweet puppy.
Robin, Medusa, Sherry, Wendy Richter, and of course yourself. I mean, you guys are the foundation. You girls, excuse me, pardon me. You girls are the foundation of what built women's wrestling into what it is today. Do you ever get remorseful about your timing? Because what would Rockin Robin be worth today in her prime, with the strap on her, with the merchandise and stuff? Do you ever get like, it's not, maybe it's not the best word, but do you get jealous, or do you get like remorseful, or like, damn it, why couldn't my time be now?
I don't know how many times I've thought about that. Yeah, of course, because I mean, like I said, I mean, back then we didn't even have a T-shirt. You know, we didn't have, like I said, no merchandise, no nothing, and also, I mean, a huge difference too is that, I mean, you look at it today and it's just a machine. You know, it's all very well put together. And the outfits, the gear, you know, from everything they wear, they've got the seamstresses in the back, you know, and I mean, with us, you had 2 or 3 little suits that you took back to, you know, your hotel room that night, had to wash everything out, and hopefully it's dry by the next day, and you're going to, you know, your next show. Like I said, not that stuff. I think with Hogan and all those guys was just getting started, you know, with they're cranking out the merchandise and this and that, but it didn't dribble down to us for sure. And, but yeah, you know, you have to, it's hard not to think about what it would be like. I mean, it must be incredible now, the opportunities that they have. And even for people that aren't necessarily in it for life, because I really wasn't. And so if they're in there just using that as a stepping stone to something else too, that's a pretty good stepping stone.
I mean, if you look at the list of these women now, they've become these moguls, right? They're yeah. Here's a question for you though. So back then they ran the ABC show. Did they ever put the women on the A show, or was it always the C show or the B show?
No, we very often were. We would actually follow Hogan quite a bit. And so what they would do, especially if we had like a double shot, and so what they would do is that they would put Hogan's match, the main event, they'd put him on right before intermission so that he could get to the next show for the night, and then right after intermission, then here we come, you know, to kind of crank it back up again. But we really, there were a lot of times. I mean, we held our own. Sherry and I especially, it was funny because that was back in the day of the newspaper, if everybody knows what a newspaper is. And we would be the ones that wound up on the front page of the local newspapers.
Now you didn't get that. You didn't get any of that Hogan money though, right? Because the other guys would tell me if they were part of that show, they got a better payday because of Hogan, and you didn't get a piece of that.
We might. Well, I don't know that I can even answer that, but I'll put it in perspective though. So like, if we did get any of that money, but our money was so much smaller to begin with, so instead of maybe 300 that night, maybe it was 400. You know.
Okay.
It was not a huge. It was not a substantial difference.
Right.
At all.
Robin, you said something interesting earlier. You said that, you weren't in it for life. When you went into wrestling, did you have the mindset to be in it for life? Did something change during your career that made you say, okay, I'm getting out now because this sucks? Or did you have a premeditated timeline that you had in your mind for your career?
I knew it wasn't going to be for me for life. I knew that. I really, going into it, I really didn't have a timeline. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go as far as I could go, which was, WWF at that time. And that was all I had my mind set on. And I guess the thing about it was I got there pretty quickly. And probably there were a lot of reasons for that. One is that there weren't a whole lot of girls to begin with. So not having to, as far as timing goes, it was probably the right time for me to go in. But no, I knew that it wasn't for me for life because I love wrestling, always will, always have. But I was never the passionate one about it, that, oh my God, it's in my blood. And I got to go wrestle somewhere. I just got to get into a ring. It was never like that. I guess I don't know. Maybe I wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it because it kind of was a family thing. And I realized it was that I did have a huge opportunity that a lot of people wouldn't have. Certainly doors, I could be taken to the right doors. You still have to kick them open and do your thing. But I knew I was going to have to go on to other things.
Robin,
Yeah.
was the family very competitive? With your different levels of success, did you have any of that kind of dynamic in the family at all between each other?
Not at all. Well, I take that back. One time Sam called me. I think they both did. Sam and Jake both. And they both said at one time or another that they would be the next women's champion if I just signed the contract. So that was the only thing.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I gotta tell you, Robin, my money's on you. I think you would have won, so we should have signed that contract.
That would be smart money because
she also worked from the other side. They wouldn't know what to do.
No, she worked from the right side, Jimmy.
Oh, she worked from their side. You got to do the moolah thing.
Oh, no, that was intentional. Yeah,
it's all ass backwards that way. It's all ass backwards. So I got you,
Robin. We're not into the low hanging.
All three of it. We all had the same mullet.
Yeah,
and pretty good looking. We all had really nice mullets.
Yeah, but Robin, you were 10 times better looking. Trust me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
trust me.
That's fair. Fair enough.
Robin, we're not into the low hanging fruit stuff. We know what you had to endure throughout your life. But question about Dark Side of the Ring. Yeah. Do you think that show is good for wrestling?
Good for wrestling? I don't know if it's good for wrestling. It's probably good for wrestling fans, longtime wrestling fans, and I think in a lot of ways it's good for people good for the wrestlers that were in it to be able to tell some of those stories. I think.
But don't you think it's like, again, I watch it, I get it, but it's like it's always so negative. It's the dark side of the ring, and it's always so negative and negative. I mean, in today's society, do you think that that's good for the sport itself?
Well,
I mean, Robin, think about it this way. A lot of these guys are down on their luck, right? And they take this show and they pay them a little bit of cash and they put them out there to make them look even worse than they could. It's almost embarrassing at some points. And at some points I go, man, what am I doing watching this? Because, this guy was an icon back then. I don't really want to think this way about him or her.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You carry your own memories about all of that. And, a lot of them were heroes to people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, well, like I said, for some of the older people like me, that they just kind of provided a platform to tell some of those stories. And a lot of them were stories that had just been going around for years and years and years. And so they were either true or not. And I think, Dark Side validated some of those. And then, it's not pretty, but, if it sounds to me, and it sounded to me like it was getting, really eaten up by fans. They liked the show.
They love it. Yeah. Everybody loves the dirt. I mean, I get it, but it's again,
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good thing for wrestling. Well, like
Robin, what does it say to you about society? Like, let's say, for example, I went to Mike and I said, I got a great idea. Let's invent a show called The Bright Side of Wrestling. And it'll be an hour of all the good stuff. It'll show Bob Backlund actually spending his whole life as a wrestler and a person and being a great guy. Do you think it makes it to season 2? Because I don't. What does that tell you? I mean, look, you've been behind the scenes you were behind the scenes for years. You know how wrestling is behind the curtain, like the fans never will. Is wrestling really that bad, or is there a lot of good to what you guys went through and experienced together? And is it really that bad? That's my question.
Yeah, no, there was a huge difference between the way, like, I grew up and knowing wrestling like I did before going into it myself. Big difference between, years ago, the territories, and everybody, drives from here to here to here to here. It was pretty grueling, really. And then to go into something like WWF, where it was more organized, it was well organized. Again, not the machine that it is today, but I mean, they turned it corporate. Like, you would have never in a million years ago thought that that wrestling could be a corporate thing, right? Never. Again, it was territories, and it was like, you go in, you do your match, and then you're up at the hotel, drinking all night with and doing whatever. But then when Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, kind of organized it. I guess that's the best word I can say. Really, really organized it and made it a real business. I mean, not that it wasn't a business before, but it's a business now that probably the business model, I'm sure, could be.
It moved from the circus to a real business.
Exactly.
And this is why you're brilliant, Rob, because now you're rolling into this next question. We're all well aware about the accusations against Vincent Kennedy McMahon by Janelle Grant. What are your thoughts about this case? Your personal thoughts. Obviously, you're not on the inside, or maybe you are. I'm not. But what are your thoughts about this case?
You're probably not going to believe me, but I don't know what you're referring to.
So there's a woman by the name of Janelle Grant.
Okay.
She was in a sexual relationship with Mr. McMahon. I guess it ended for whatever reason. Vince McMahon signed an NDA worth $3 million. Janelle Grant claims she stopped getting paid and then just told the whole story about Vince McMahon selling her out sexually, sex trafficking, some other really, really bad stuff. I guess
was she a wrestler? Was this a wrestler?
She was a woman down on her luck who happened to live in the same building as Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I don't know how that happened. And they ran into each other in a elevator, and Vince put her to work for the WWE, and they had a sexual relationship, and maybe not the normal sexual relationship that most of us human beings have, but nevertheless, it's a relationship they decided to have together, and they had a business agreement, and now she has gone against the NDA, and Vince is no longer with the WWE. They sold out to Endeavor, and now they kicked Vince off the board. And it doesn't matter, he's whatever. But I guess my point is, you as a woman, you've been a famous wrestler, a very successful wrestler. Was there a casting couch situation in wrestling back in that day, or did you have to endure that at all?
No, I didn't, not at all. And I never saw anything. Now, again, I think it was two different worlds. Two completely different worlds that I saw. So growing up, and with Moolah and her girls, and again going back to the territories, how wrestling was from the beginning. I mean, I think there were casting couches. There were, you name it, it went on. But then for me, I know when I got to the WWF, like I said, it was a shock, because it wasn't the underbelly, it wasn't the dirty underbelly that the what wrestling used to be. It's now it's a real business, and no smoking inside the Coliseum, or you had to look presentable.
So let me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
Beautiful lady. You obviously have spoken of Mr. McMahon. Didn't Mr. McMahon ever make any kind of overtures towards you at any point throughout your career in the WWE?
No.
How did he treat you as a human being?
Fine. I with us, let's put it this way. I think maybe the whole time I was there, maybe I spoke with him 5 times. We would get to the arena, we would find our dressing room and wait until someone came in and said, okay, girls, do Broadway 10 minutes, or go 15 minutes, go 10 minutes, go whatever. We'd always go 20, but so there wasn't a lot of connection to the top. Let's put it that way. We were kind of taken around by the agents that worked for Vince, and I saw him occasionally, but no, there was no real. I really never, and maybe I was naive. I don't know, because I do know I was pretty stupid in my 20s, even up in my 30s.
I think we all were.
Probably started to get some sense around somewhere in the 40s. But anyway,
Robin, yeah. was it hard for the girls to follow Hulk Hogan? You mentioned earlier that you guys would come on after Hulk Hogan. Now, during that time period, Hulk Hogan is Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume that the crowd is completely emotionally trained. Would you get frustrated? Was it easy working a match after Hulkamania ran wild across the arena?
Yeah. Well, we got certain oohs and ahs when we would just, walk into the ring, because then everybody's like, oh, look, it's women, it's girls. Oh my God. Right. And then, the whistle. And I don't know if it was just maybe because it took a different turn. Maybe it's because they weren't expecting a whole lot, but
Okay.
but we would get in there, we'd get started, and we would get them involved. And back in the day, there were a lot of the guys that we traveled with and worked on the same shows that would come tell us that, oh my God, those are some of the best women's matches I've ever seen. And I was like, well, that's almost a compliment. How about that's the best?
That's a great match.
Those are some of the best matches.
Yeah,
period.
yeah.
Right. Right.
But we would get the crowd going, and that's the whole thing you want to do, is get the crowd popping, and we certainly would. And we at one point kind of thought, because we were getting such great feedback and putting in the time, putting in the effort, everything, that there was at one point that there was going to be some big angle with us, and it just never materialized. It just, kind of went away.
I think, unfortunately, at that time, they were trying to figure out if the women divisions worked, and obviously someone finally got it, that it's such an important entity. In fact, some of the greatest matches in pro wrestling history started off with a women's match that got the whole thing lit up. I did want to ask you, we all know wrestling fans could be crazy. Again, did you ever have a stalker? Did anyone, did you ever have a crazy fan that followed you around everywhere that you were finally like, get me the hell out of here?
Well, they didn't really have a lot of access to you. So I was never really scared of anyone. But I had, have people come up to you and, just throw their arms around you. And it's like, okay, we're doing this, and love you too.
Jimmy, was that you, Jimmy, back in the day?
No, but at the beginning of this show,
I thought you looked familiar.
At the beginning of this show, I was really thinking it was you, Mike. You were getting me nervous, you pervert.
Honestly, it probably was, to be honest. I was that nerd, like, oh, Robin.
Yeah. There would be some fellows would come up and want me to sign their chests, and
Ew.
Okay.
Like, wait a minute, like big flappy ones? Here, sign these. Really?
No. Thank goodness. Yeah. No.
Okay,
most of the time it was these young dudes that like, here. Okay.
All right, Rob.
How did you get the name Rockin Robin in the first place? Was that presented to you? Were you like, okay, I'm Rockin Robin? I mean, how does that come about?
Yeah, it should have really been thought through a little bit better.
Wait a minute.
Well, they could have called her Sky Blue.
I mean, something. But it was only because I had to be announced as something, and so I think when I started, and some of my first matches were in Dallas, Fort Worth. There was a place called Billy Bob's. It was this huge bar, really. I mean, it was this kind of a huge thing going on, and they did. What was the name of the? Was it? Wasn't five? Maybe was it 5-Star Wrestling? No, I don't. I can't remember now, but they. I had some of my first couple of matches, professional matches there, and against Susan Green, which was just absolutely fabulous. I mean, if you ever want to work with a pro, she's it. But anyway, I remember being back. I was dressed, ready to go, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, who do we say you are? What do you want to go by? And I'm like, just in a panic, I guess Rockin Robin, because at the time too, is that like, again, that whole rock and roll wrestling and,
Right.
and
Right.
so it just kind of stuck from there.
Well, what's in a name? Everything. Could you imagine if you had gone Metal Mary? That wouldn't have worked.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, of course, I mean, after my run and after I got out of wrestling, I'm like, oh man, because I was pretty tame. I mean, which was so unlike me, and even people that I grew up with, that are friends of mine now. They're like, man, we expected you to come out in these like Liberace gowns and or things 5 foot high on my head and wild sunglasses, just crazy.
Yeah.
Because I was just kind of
So
that
so
way.
let me ask you this. You've had many years now to think about the name that you spit out there, and it obviously worked. Look, we're talking to you, okay?
Yeah.
You've made it, okay?
Yeah.
But now that you've had all this time to think about it, did you come up with a better name that you would have liked to have called yourself? And if so, what is it?
Oh. You got me. I don't know. No, I did, but I would love to be able to say something. No, I never really thought about anything else. But obviously, yeah, there would have been so many others that I could have done more with, certainly, and had more fun with. I don't know, the Beast. Who knows?
The Beast.
Yeah.
The Beast.
Listen, Jimmy, I love that name, and that is
right.
Listen, I really want to bring this stat back to a really super important subject because it's clearly what a strong woman Robin is. And Robin, I hate to go back to the negative, but I have to get your opinion on this.
Sure.
You didn't know about Vince McMahon. I totally get that. And Missy Hyatt, Missy Hyatt, I'm assuming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Missy
Yeah.
Hyatt recently has come out and said that Vince McMahon fired her because she wouldn't have sex with him or something to that level. Do you think that this has gotten out of control with women making claims on men? I mean, it's only human nature, right? You're an attractive woman. I say, hey, Robin, I like you. Would you like to go on a date? No, you're a fat bald guy. Leave me alone. I'll come back a second time and say, you're beautiful. Give me a chance. You go, no, you smell. Leave me alone. And I should walk away. I get it. But are women now taking advantage of men in general? And how do you feel about Missy Hyatt after all these years coming out and making this claim? And by the way, she was on our show 2 years ago and said he was a great guy. Regardless, what are your thoughts as this strong, independent, and actually one of the greatest in her profession?
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, I do think it's out of hand. I think it's what two people choose to do is their business. I mean, the way I feel about it, and I honestly don't want to hear about it. If someone forced themselves on you, then yeah, scream your head off and tell whoever you can, and because that's behavior that doesn't stop with you. That's somebody, a guy who will do that, or for that matter, a woman who will do that. That's just, I guess, their nature. But I mean, we all go through stuff, and only they know the truth. I certainly don't. And if they're telling their truth, that's fine. But like all this other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And who I'm referring to.
Yes.
But that is just, it's such. Who cares? I don't care.
All right, but here's another tough one for you, okay? And again, if you don't like to answer the question, I'm saying this with respect, but I respect your opinion. Your brother, Jake, he came out after these Vince McMahon allegations, and I don't know if I'm quoting him verbatim, but that it was the most disgusting thing he's ever heard in his entire life. And personally, I felt like we all know the stories of Jake, and obviously Jake is well respected by a very large fan base, and he does have influence on people's thinking. And I thought to myself, wow, isn't that the, pot calling the kettle black? Maybe you should shut your mouth on this one, pal, considering all the things you do. I know he's your family member, and I'm not asking you to talk bad about him. That's not my point. My point is, do you feel that people need to shut their mouths, especially when they live in a glass house?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. There are just things that I feel like are nobody's business. It's like I don't want to know. I don't want to know who you share things with and who you do your little whatever it is you do, who you do that with, what you like, what happened. That's I don't care. I really don't. I don't care. But on that same note, if it's something, if you've been traumatized, hurt, whatever, or brutalized, that's a different story. But no, I certainly think that it's it's not anybody's business who you sleep with, who you hang out with, who you do anything with, and like with everything that is going on today, it's the same thing with all the everybody wants their rights to live the way they want to live, which is great. Okay, live it, but that doesn't mean I need to.
Mm-hmm. I don't live it the way you want to live it, as long as it's under my rules, not your rules, right? You can do what you want as long as I agree with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'm happy for anybody who's happy. Do what makes you happy. But
Robin, do you think it'll ever? Do you think? I'm sorry. Do you think that it'll ever change? Whether we finally start to pass laws that enforce that if accusers' accusations are discovered to be unfounded or exaggerated in a court of law, that the accuser himself has to serve a penalty in due time.
Or herself, Jimmy, or herself, right?
Yeah, himself or herself.
They should. And the same, it's funny because I've had this conversation with a good friend of mine many times. Attorneys who throw out this bait to just to get just to mess with probable cause or mess with what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? That they'll suggest something. An attorney will suggest something in court that's totally untrue, by the way, about somebody, but it brings up it'll bring questions up in the minds of jurors that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To where,
mm-hmm.
To me, when they do that, and it's found not to be true, attorneys should go to jail for stuff like that. I mean, how? And I just don't understand why you can go in a courtroom and just throw something out there just to see if it sticks, just to throw people off, throw something out there, see if that sticks, and was never true, never had any evidence of what they're saying, that should be penalized also. Like I said, an attorney should not be able to do that unless they can actually prove it. You shouldn't just be able to go in there and say it.
I love
just
it.
to give them something else to think about. So
I love it, Robin. I love it.
Yeah, I mean that's just I think that's part of a bigger problem. That you can say anything you want, and it's not about getting to the truth. It's just about getting this person off or getting that person off. Nobody's looking for the truth anymore.
Right. And, it's a very expensive game at the taxpayer's expense.
Yes.
And people's reputation.
Disgusting.
Anyway,
Yes.
we're out of time. I want to thank Sal Corrente for hooking us up. Robin, I got to tell you what an honor it is to have a legend like yourself on the show.
That's very
I
sweet.
loved you before I met you. Now I even love you more. I may be stalking. I may be outside your house stalking you.
Yeah, you do have my email now.
I do have your email. Look out. She'll get
That's
80 emails. She's like, I'm changing everything. Anyway, we got something called the Pharaoh's Final Question. Now, this is an unscripted question. He may ask you what underwear you wear. I have no idea.
What?
But we're going to hit you with
my
the Pharaoh's
God.
Final Question. Pharaoh.
Okay.
Yeah, Robin, boxers or briefs? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Both?
She was going to
Yeah.
ask.
Wow. Nice.
Depends on how I feel that day. Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. Well, you'll be prepared if you see that a big fat guy outside your window with a copy of PWI back in the day. You'll know it's mine.
Yes, yes.
All right. So here we go. You know what? We ask a lot of people this, but I'm gonna do this because it's you. Okay.
Okay.
Give me Rockin Robin's Mount Rushmore of the 4 most important, greatest women wrestlers in the history of this business.
Oh, I guess right off the bat, I do want to say Sherry, because
Nice.
we spent so much time together, and she's
She's the greatest. Greatest.
I'll
The
always
greatest.
I'll always be thankful to her too, because typically it's the heel is usually the one that will call matches and this and that, and but she let me do my thing. I mean, it was a little bit of a rough start, but when she realized I was serious, and not just there because I knew people, that she she would give that space and allow me to do some things, and I actually called most of our matches, and but like I said, it takes a big person to do that, because she's been in the business forever, and here I come in, nobody knows who the hell I am, and most people, because no one ever talked about the relationship with any of us, and but to support me, or give me that support, give me that time to shine. I mean, God bless her. I'll always be thankful for that. But so anyway, so her, Susan Green, another one. Susan, just a pro. I mean, if anybody who's probably ever worked with her in their lives, it would say the same thing. And she's one that absolutely loves the business. She lived it, breathed it, everything. And in fact, I recently spoke with her, and it was great after 30 some odd years. And then you got to throw Moolah in there just because she was women's wrestling. I mean, you can't hardly mention it without saying her name, right?
Right.
And then one more.
One more.
As far as who I liked, or who are talent wise.
Well, stay with the list you have so far. Whatever mindset you've been using for the first 3, put it for the 4th.
Okay. Oh, geez. This goes way back. Sandy Parker.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us.
She was just, I remember when I was much younger, I mean, just a small child. And she actually was pretty good friends. Her and my mother became pretty good friends when they would come in town. And I just remember, being in the stands, watching her. I was just always fascinated. And she just, she gave it as good as you can give. And for her, she was an African-American woman. And at that time, I can't imagine what she went through. and the things that she did and the door she had to kick down to get where she was. So, yeah.
It's an amazing list, Mike. Amazing list.
Amazing list and an amazing person. Robin, thank you again for appearing on our show. This is truly an honor. I can't keep saying it enough.
Well, thank you. I love you guys. I'm gonna.
Thank you. Thank you.
How can I like peek in like I did tonight? With y'all didn't even know I was.
We didn't.
I was a little
if anyone doesn't know,
wall.
Robin was going stealth. She wanted to know what she was getting herself into, and then she realized it was two old guys.
Y'all are quite entertaining.
Well, thank you.
Didn't know anybody was watching. I love it.
Trump 2024, my friend.
Yeah,
we're almost home. We are almost home.
Almost there. Almost there. I love
All right, I'm going to
it.
ask you to do one last thing for me before I sign off, if you don't mind.
I'm not going to
You're just going to repeat exactly what I say. Are you ready?
Okay.
What a day.
What a day.
What a loser.
What a loser.
All right. Thank you, Robin. All right, Robin. We'll see you. Have a great weekend. Again, thank you what you've done for the sport and what you've done for all of us. God bless you.
Thank you, Robin.
Guys. Love you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
A bucket list right there. Incredible, incredible. Look, first of all, incredible wrestler.
Wait a minute. Say good things. She's probably still listening.
I would only say good things. Are you kidding me? What do you mean? Crushed honor when she was wrestling, right?
Yep. I understand.
Crushing honor now. And I mean out of a good way, right? It's like, my God, she thinks just like us. She's so intelligent. And
that always
honest.
helps.
Dude, there was some tough questions there. That was some tough questions. And you know what?
They were.
She took them like a champ, and she answered them professionally. And you know what? Dude, thank you for doing this show with me, that we get to meet people like that, man. I want to thank
you
Sal.
for doing this.
Good.
Thank you for doing this show with me. You probably can't see it, but I got goosebumps, man. So you know what that means. That was fantastic.
Well, it just, I want to thank Sal Corrente for helping us out. The
thank
guys
you,
like
Sal.
I want to thank everybody who watches us every Thursday. God bless. I want to thank Rockin Robin for an incredible interview. And next week, Hollywood Glow in studio. You ready for that one?
It's raining. It's pouring. Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Some spooky music I remember being like in my past life.
You know what? I keep forgetting. I'm old. What are you going to do?
I know.
Jimmy, again.
I should have sang it in the right octave, though. It's raining.
It's pouring. We might have to play it. Much respect. I want to thank Abe, who's here like a trooper, producing some of the greatest quality of work. Again, Jimmy, thank you for doing the show with me. God bless you. I'll see you. I'll talk to you tonight. And what a great interview. And I can't say enough. I want to thank Rockin Robin again. Again, exactly how I wanted her to be is exactly how she is. Big fan, huge fan.
It doesn't happen too often like that. I'm grateful for that opportunity. That was awesome, bro.
All right, bro. Send us out.
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. And until next week when we go Hollywood, later.